And we are live. This is Silences Compliance Live, Voluntary Virtues Network Edition, our Tuesday night show. And we had a little bit later start tonight than usual, but that is for a pretty important reason, being we had Jeff. And by the way, I have a new rule that anybody that I'm going to be associating with, as far as my close circle of friends and colleagues and advisors and people I talk to, they must all be fucking rock star heroes, willing to pick up the phone and at very least, okay, because that aggravates me a lot that I put a call out for people to do something and they can't even pick up a phone. But Jeff, I don't want to get into too much of the details because we have so many people trolling us, watching our every move, and we have to be strategic about everything. But Jeff hit a home run today, and something that will be put into the rainy day fund, so to speak, something that will be used for sure. And it was great. It was definitely worth it. But we don't have a real lot of time. We have 25 minutes right now on voluntary virtues. We're going to cover what we can. And then right after this, right at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be transferring to another network where they might already be in progress. I'm not sure. But I know I'm going to be joining them to talk about the castity stay, so to speak. I don't know if we're calling it a hoax at this point. I know I certainly have raised many questions as well as some other people, but I don't know. Where do you want to start, Jeff? I know the one thing maybe real quick because I don't think we'll end up spending too much time on it. I put a video out today talking about these two white flags that appeared on the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, in and of itself, it could be it could be a big deal or it could be nothing. And my knee-jerk response was that it had to have been something coordinated from. I mean, for the fact that you're talking 273 feet in the air, you're talking 18 by 12 foot flags, which once you fold them up, I mean, it's a decent amount that you're going to be lugging. And if you're crawling or climbing like some of these people that are able to crawl walls like Spider-Man, I mean, it would be near impossible. And not just one, two, okay, on both sides. Everybody understands that white represents surrender, okay? And there's so much that could be involved in some, or that this story could represent, or it might be pretty much nothing. It goes either way. It could be a story or a non-story. But the one thing I did notice right before we came on air is a close-up picture, okay, where you could actually see the stars and stripes in the background. Now, I did hear people talking earlier, and I wrote in the description that it's possible that these flags could have been bleached or possibly painted, and the only way that I would think logistically it'd be able to be painted is spray paint. And I noticed literally seconds before we came on air that if you look close at this one picture where you could actually see the stars and stripes, if you look to the left, and Jeff, you've seen this and agree with me, it looks like somebody had paint white on their hands and put their hand, it looks like a white handprint right next to it. But other than that, I don't know. What say you, Mr. Jeff? What do you think about this story here? The only way that I would think.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting because, obviously, someone crawled up there and put those flags up there to signify America's surrender.
you look, and well, okay,
And you just look what's
what's the significance of Brooklyn per se? You know, like is it like I read somebody today said Brooklyn is kind of like a melting, almost like a symbol of America, like a melting pot of so many different ethnicities, languages, and stuff like that. You think they could have been going for something like that?
I think it's just that it's a
Brooklyn?
high. I think it's just that it's a
Because
very visible
it's
area.
New York and
Yeah,
it
it's
was
New York. You're
doable.
not gonna miss it. I mean, look at all the things that are going on right now. I mean, you have Detroit with the water crisis. You have the insanity at the southern border. You have the U.S.'s interaction between with Russia as far as what's going on in Ukraine and right now with the MH17. Obviously, Ukraine issue is a lot bigger than that, but right at this very moment, with the kind of rhetoric back and forth between the United States and Russia. Not to mention the craziness in the Middle East with Israel and Gaza. And I mean, there's a lot of things that the United States, in most people's eyes, should be paying attention to, and we're not. You have Barack Obama, who's off on golf trips and taking vacations, and I don't have time for photo ops, and then spends the next 4 days doing photo ops all across the nation. So I think basically somebody just crawled up there to say, hey, look, this is the end. Well, it's over.
But and here's the thing. Now, when Obama got into office and I started, really getting awake and really understanding that, things are pretty friggin' bad, I knew enough to when I went out to make a statement, okay, before I started going out publicly confronting people with video cameras and stuff. There's actually 2 videos of me doing this. I did one right here in Pittston, and then one way up high on the mountain as you're going on 81 north, going into Scranton. I got big American flags and hung them upside down, or hung them upside down American distress from trees where it was very difficult to get at. The first one was really hard to get at, but somebody managed to get it down. The second one is I'm like, how the heck did they get that down? So I made it like so difficult to get. I mean, you're talking, I walked probably 4 miles. I mean, just, trucking through the woods, trying to get up to this really high spot, a spot that people could see from the highway. Then I found this perfect tree that was like hanging over. But you got to remember, I'm trying to get this rope, over a tree that's 50 foot up in the air, and I wasn't able to climb this particular tree and get it up there. And I can't just tie a rock to. Normally you could do that, but when you're like 150 feet right above, an interstate, I don't think it's a good idea to start chucking rocks. If it slips out of the rope, bad things could happen real quick. So I was able to. I was able to do it. I was able to get it up and over, and then I tied the special knot on there. So when I pulled it, it locked into place, and I had I had it rigged so great. I had a stick and this big rock. So every time you pulled it, it locked into place, and I pulled it. So when it finally locked up there on the branch, the only way you could get this thing down is to either somehow get up there and cut the thing down, or cut the entire tree down. That stood there for probably a couple months before finally it looked like somebody cut the entire tree down. Every time you'd go down 81, whether it be north or south, you see this, big American flag hanging upside down. But that was so okay. The point I'm making is if it was okay, you're saying that America surrenders, we give up? You're not saying like America in distress, which the upside down American flag represents. Like, hey, shit's fucked up. When that's where it came from when the British took over American forts during the American Revolution. In order to send a signal to people, they would fly their flag upside down, and when people seen it, they knew something wasn't right inside the fort. That's where it came from. Now it represents, and as it always did, a symbol of America in distress. So the white that submits or represents submission. Okay, we submit. Now, a lot of stuff is symbolic, and there's a story that I'll mention. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I think it was very symbolic, and it was on the news, and then nobody talked about it again. As far as I know, ever. Do you remember when the Air Force One buzzed New York City right after Obama got elected, like within a couple months? Like Air Force One buzzed, okay, and then Obama comes out, and later on he ended up making a joke saying, "Oh, I told Sasha and Malia not to be taking Air Force." Listen, there's no jokes involved, okay? There were a lot of whistleblowers that came out and said there are no way that could have happened, because Air Force One. If you don't understand how it works, Air Force One and Air Force Two, they're identical, okay? And what makes Air Force One is when the POTUS, the President of the United States, when he is in it, that's when it's one, okay? When the backup one is backup, that's when it's two. So one could be one, one could be two, two could be one, and vice versa. And here's the thing, you always have to know where that backup is. It's not like there could be a mistake. It's not like, oh, my buddy took my car and I didn't realize it. There can never be a mistake. Everything has to be, I mean, this is the United States of America, and things are run a certain way. And like Air Force One does not just disappear. There are people that are accountable for that. I mean, all that went into the fact that this plane was flown. Like, if something were to happen, all right, and believe me, I'm not getting into all the, oh my God, what happened to Obama? I certainly don't have time to get into all that. That's so obvious, okay? Yes, I know all of the things, and whether you want to say it's good or bad, I'm not going down that road. I'm just saying, logistically, this plane could not have left without people knowing. I mean, high-level friggin' people. And I'm pretty sure that there was a whistleblower that came on Michael Savage's show and said that the president had to have known about it, because they have to know his schedule. So I don't know. And the point is there were people that were on the radio show saying that was symbolic, that that whoever, whether you want to call them globalists, multinationalists, that was their way of representing that they are into the next phase of globalizing. That after 9/11 was a huge step for them, obviously. Now they got their, whether you want to say it's the first black president, however you want to word it, they're moving along quickly, okay? Even if you take the race out of it and say you got this guy who's an open socialist to the point where, he's pretty much even, fascist, communist, the obvious, a Marxist, but you get him into office, and next thing you know, Air Force One is buzzing New York City. It's almost like if somebody was in the makings, if somebody was planning, I could see them say, listen, if you get elected, if I could get you elected, or if I could get you that seat, and America buys it, I want you to take me, or I want to be able to be in Air Force One as it buzzes over Ground Zero. I mean, that was Ground Zero, dude. So people were running in the streets. They were scared to death. And for the fact that, like, there wasn't an investigation into it, and everything was, everything's cool. Like, no, everything's not cool. Like, Air Force One just buzzed New York City. That's not cool. But all right, I don't want to be talking with the little time we have about stories that are like 6, 7 years old. What else you got going on, brother? What other stories you got that you want to talk about?
Well, I have this one here that I found that about in Indiana. Apparently, they have 2.5 million cards with infant blood that have been stored in hundreds of boxes in an undisclosed warehouse. And for 23 years, parents have not known that this was going on. That when babies were being born in the hospital, they were drawing blood samples and then taking those blood samples and storing them in a warehouse.
Years old.
Without parents' consent or knowledge.
Get out of here. So babies' blood was they were getting taken from them and stored in a warehouse, and the parents didn't know about it.
Yeah, they said that hundreds of boxes storing up to 2.5 million blood samples taken from infants since 1991 in Indiana. They were kept without parental consent. Last year, that practice changed. So now they're starting to ask for parents' consent after 23 years of not giving a.
Oh, now, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice of them. At least they're asking, right?
After 23
Yeah,
years.
yeah. After
After
23
the
years.
fact, hey, do you mind if I take this after I already been
Well,
here
I
for
mean,
23 years?
what they're allowed to do and what they're allowed to get away with is ridiculous beyond any kind of approach. It's just I mean, people go to jail, and I know that if you are going to get out of like a federal prison, they tell you that you need to give a blood sample or you can't get out of prison. Now, if you're maxed out and they technically can't keep you any longer, I don't see how that's possible. But at the same time, I can see how if somebody just did a long bid in prison, and all that's keeping them from being behind bars and entering the United Police States of America is obviously an improvement. I could see that going to get out of like a federal prison, they tell you
Apparently, according to the article, that as of June 2013, parents and guardians of newborns now indicate whether or not to allow their child's dried blood spot to be made available for medical research purposes. So apparently, for the last 23 years, without any parental consent, they've been drawing blood from infants in order to use it for medical research purposes. So now they say if a parent or guardian chooses to have their dried blood spot saved, it will be stored and made available for medical research purposes for a period of 3 years and then destroyed. Although saved dried blood spots as of 2013 will be available for medical research, no identifiable information about your baby will ever, quote unquote, be released.
And that's the thing that people have to understand is you have to look at this is that no matter what these people say, look at the actions. Okay, if you look at the actions of what they do, and then say, you know what if they were to do that? That's it right there. If you disagree that, say there's a possibility that you don't like, then right there you should stop and say, okay, that's something I don't want a part of, because chances are eventually a generation or two, as idiocracy becomes reality, things like this will start to work its way, and just like brainwashing and indoctrination and changing cultures, things will change, and eventually it will become socially acceptable. And we've been talking about that, and what people consider moral relativism, and it's crazy. So no, you can't support that in any way. No, that's just ridiculous. What else do we got here, brother? I see that the mainstream's actually, well, depending on where you go, talking about the man who got choked out in New York and killed. Now, the local, at least one of the local guys that I heard talking, was completely on our side, saying that it was, just terrible, just absolute terrible. I would like to call and ask him the question, because this is the same guy who says, I think he agrees that things are bad, and says that the government has taken complete control, or the government has way too much control. But he says, there are these people that talk about the police state and them it being a complete police state. Well, I'm not one of those, and I'd really like to call him out on that and say, well, what does that mean? You're not one of those. And I mean, even today, the guy who I completely disagree with is talking about how brainwashed people are when it comes to Israel and Palestine. How he was getting callers tonight saying that they're subhuman, and kill them, even the children. And I'm like, holy Christ, man! It's like, I don't know. Yeah, people are scary, man. You know, and I hate to say it, but I know every country, every culture, every nation has its own people, and there's good and bad in every culture and every society. But man, Americans seem to take the cake when it comes to, you know, unethical, immoral behavior and just not get. I mean, think about the history of the, like, okay, what country is sadistic enough to kill 10,000 people at the blink of an eye with one bomb? Okay, and that was Hiroshima. What, wasn't Nagasaki even more? So when people talk about, oh, we can't, you know, we can't let Iran have the bomb, or, you know, so many of these other countries, who was the only country that ever used the bomb? Oh, it was for a good reason, you know. And I know that's a very complicated subject, and yeah, well, I don't know. When you get into the fact that Japan surrendered, and Truman's like, not good enough. Boom, send another one. You know, like, really, dude? Like, how do you defend something like that? They surrendered, and he dropped the second fucking bomb. You know, like, hey, sorry, okay, sorry. No, not good enough. Are you fucking kidding me? You know? So, I mean,
make sure you heard the first one.
yeah, and then you know, can you blame people for arguing as far as were they testing or to see how powerful? Because I think the second bomb was a lot bigger, and yeah, man, that's hardcore shit, dude. Like, in order to make the call to know you're gonna kill 10, and they asked him later, you know, did you ever lose sleep, or how, you know, has it ever bothered you? And you know, I read a lot of stuff that said he was just a, you know, an extremely hardcore little bastard. I heard, but he said no problem whatsoever. He never felt not even a second, not a millisecond of remorse. You know, like, don't you think that's a little sadistic? Killing 10,000 people, you know, like an entire city, like a huge city, women, children, babies, incinerated in a second, and then you light up another one. Like one person making this. Yeah, I know he had advisors, okay, but he was a high-level Mason too, actually. But we certainly don't have time to get into that conversation. We're only a couple minutes left there. But I know this was a quick show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get your fill on truth and important stories that are going on across the world and in the planet, then you know, stay tuned, because I'm going to be going on, I believe it's Max Resistance on FPRN in a couple minutes, and we are going to be talking about the Cassidy stay, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be talking about that, and that's a real big deal, especially if that is what we think it is, which is you know, a psyop in order to make you think that there's a lot more gun violence than there actually is. And it's crazy. But I don't know, Jeff, do you have anything else, brother?
Tomorrow, Wednesday, FPR.
Tomorrow, big day tomorrow. Oh, no excuses, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new, I don't even think I told you this yet, we have a new call-in line, okay? So even if you don't have a mobile device and don't have the TuneIn app, we have a special line that is dedicated just to call and listen to. So if you want to get your phone, call this number from anywhere you're at, put on speakerphone and just listen, or put your headphones in and listen. And this is constantly taking the stream that's coming. So it could be past shows or whatever's playing at that time. Because once I do my Wednesday show, it plays at certain times. I think 2 or 3 times a day for the rest of the week, something like that. So you have no excuse. Okay, the best place is to listen live, but join the show. Call in. So yeah, voluntary virtues. Make sure you stay tuned. Michael Shanklin will be coming up next. He's the one who put this together here on Voluntary Virtues Network. Sunday is 7 to 9. Normally, Liberty Chat is where we do that show from. Wednesdays, FPRN. That's our big show. That's our home base and home network. Make sure you tune in there. If you want to help volunteer in any way, shape, or form, make sure you get in touch with me. If you want to report news, write stories, if you want to donate, do anything, make sure you get in touch with me. We're just knocking things out of the water here. I got stories left and right that I'm trying to catch up with. I've been going all day and I'm just starting to get caught up. So make sure you go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, go to my AnthonyAntonello.com, my website, and sign up for email updates. Very easy to get in touch with me. So check out all that. And check out all that. And that's pretty much that. Stay tuned. Go over to FPRN Radio, or I'll probably make a post on Facebook or Twitter and let you know what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to be going live on another show in another couple minutes, and we're going to be talking about Israel and the Iron Dome. I think I have a lot to break down as far as my thoughts on the Iron Dome. So thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff, you good, brother?
Good, man.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week with a full show. Like I said, we had to do a little bit shorter tonight, but it was well worth it, and we'll let you know why that happened. But as always, Sounds is Compliance, Anthony Antonello, and I am out.